my volume. All right, just admitting folks. Hi, Kimberly. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Jamie. I feel like I haven't seen your face in forever.
No, I finished the book.
Yay! It was a good one too, so well worth it. Just trying to get this stuff set up. We'll begin in a couple of minutes. Just gotta share this to Facebook and all that good kind of stuff. All right, live on Facebook. Share to, oh, cancel. Shoot. Got the wrong Facebook profile up right now. Come on.
You're doing your thing with the working out and the bike and everything.
Man,
Renee,
staying busy for sure. Staying busy. That quarantine 20 came on quickly.
Yeah.
I had to do something to work that off. All right, let me try this again and share. Hold on. See waiting room. All right. Oh, Catherine and Anna. Miss Catherine, how are you? Her audio is connected. Hi, Catherine, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. I see Anna's on here. Okay, I'm just sharing this so we can go live to, and admitting people live on Facebook real quick. Log on to the right profile. Okay.
Whatever you need to do.
All right, page, book girl magic.
Y'all, I look like a hot mess, so that's why I'm not on video.
Oh, don't be scared.
I literally I'm wearing one of my favorite t-shirts, and I comb my hair. I put on a little bit of lipstick. I don't even.
That was me too. I'm like,
thank you. Like,
listen,
look,
yeah.
I got on pajama pants. They can't see that on Zoom.
Exactly. Full on yoga leggings on right now with a nice shirt. This is me all day.
I look like a hot mess, girl. So do I. Turn it back on. It's fine. Don't worry about
it. That is it. I'll be a little nervous when I actually have to go back into office and wear real clothes, because I'm not sure what that's going to look like.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. That's what I'm trying to do, the full-time writer thing. So by the time they're like, you can go back to the office. I am.
That's right.
Bye. Y'all be blessed.
All right, let me see. Just typing all this stuff in. I feel like there's so much going on. All right, live video. All right, go live. Let's see. Okay.
Oh, hi.
Now we should be live on Facebook, or it's good getting there anyhow if it's not already. Okay, I think that's done. Okay, let me check the waiting room because I'm sure there's a ton of people waiting for me to let them in.
I like what you said, a ton. Thank you, God.
Look, right? They're coming in here. My crew, look, there's still more. Admit all. Let's just do that. Yeah, there was 9 people waiting. So here they come. There we go. Okay.
You're like, there's one person.
We're the 4 brave ones that are going to show our faces on the camera.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like I have to, because if I don't,
right.
You can just be like, oh, it's Catherine West, but she ain't gonna like show her face. Like,
was it really the author?
I know, right? You just got one of your friends was like, I wrote this book.
Oh, wow. Look at all these people showing up. Look at my cousins. Got some regulars on here. Look at that.
Lord for the cousin.
Right? Yeah. Christine in California. There she is. Hi. Okay. I'll keep a lookout for people still coming in, but we can go ahead and get started. Thank you, Catherine, for being here to discuss your debut novel, which is amazing. Saving the King. Hopefully y'all can see that. I love this. Hold on, I'm gonna mute. There we go. Okay. Fell in love with this book, loved everything about it. So I have like 3 copies of the book, technically, audio, ebook, and the physical copy. Yeah, I know.
So you the one to help pay my advance back.
Yes, listen, I try to support any way that I can. So for me, I love audio. Like, that's just my typical go-to. But if I'm sitting at home, I like to look at it. I like to do both simultaneously. So I'll read the book and listen at the same time. But the audio for me is good when I'm on the go and just out and about, cleaning, doing whatever. So I was actually reading it and listening to it at the same time. And for me, I don't know if anybody else did it via audiobook, but the voices were like perfection to me. They were awesome. So it just brought so much more to the story by listening to it that way, and you know, having the different characters and just kind of brought them to life, really. So for me, I know there's probably a ton of questions from everybody else, but one of the main questions that I had just to kind of get this going is, where did the concept for this book come from?
Oh yeah, well, Saving Ruby King originally started as a short story, and the book was originally called Potter's Wheel, right? Because it was originally just supposed to be about, you know, Layla Potter and her dad Jackson. But I mean, you can only deal with that subject so much before you kind of need a catalyst, something to drive the story. So that's where Lebanon came in. And, you know, because, you know, you need a foil or an antagonist, obviously, or else just the story meanders. And I'm like, well, you know, that's the perfect foil for Jackson, but we need somebody for Layla. And that's how Ruby came about. Ruby originally was just kind of this ancillary character. She wasn't like, she wasn't a main character.
Wow.
And the book really started as a way, or the story started as a way for me to kind of understand the relationship that I had with my dad. Love him to death. You know, I'm literally, remember that video with the little girl who's like, "You love me? You love me?" And he's like, yeah, that was me and my father at a certain point. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I was a total DG. But, you know, you grow older and you start to see your parents not as parents, but as people.
Yeah.
So that kind of drove a wedge kind of between my dad and I in a lot of respects. Still loved him. But, you know, there was definitely, you know, conflict there. And I felt like the church was a part of that in ways. And it just started off as a way for me to kind of understand what that relationship meant and where did it go and why did it get to the place it got to. And then it just like evolved into this whole kind of like literary fiction, murder mystery, urban fiction, multi-POV amalgam of things that just got put together. And that's kind of where Saving Ruby King started. Those are the roots.
Yeah, definitely kept me on my toes the entire time. Like, things were happening. I was like, whoa, wait, I wasn't expecting that to happen. So it was just constant twists and turns, which I love in a book. It just keeps it going and keeps it exciting, and you don't want to put it down. So how long did it take you to write this?
5 years.
Wow.
5 years.
Wow.
Wait. And that was the rough draft, Renee. That was rough.
Wow.
Now, look. I have a full-time job. My full-time job is editing. So I literally have to read everybody else's stuff. And then I have to come home and try to write my own. And I was like, so, so there were days where, you know, where there were literally like months where I didn't touch the book, like months.
Wow.
And then I'll pick it back up and then like get going again and then be like, you know, I wrote like 5,000 words. So like I should be good for a week, and then that week would turn into 8 and then 12. And then I would have to pick it back up again. And so I had been writing the book on and off for 5 years, and I knew the potential of this book. Not to sound arrogant, but to sound confident, like I knew I could do something with this book. And I got so tired of telling people I was writing a book, you know, saying writing, you know, kind of present tense instead of like using the past tense. I wrote a book.
Right.
You know, and I think it was April. And like I said, I was just tired of it. And I finished the last 25% of the book in 2 days, 3 days.
Wow.
I just got so tired. I literally was just like, screw this, and just like banged out the last 25%.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I started writing the book in 2012, finished the rough draft in 2017. And I made the mistake a lot of like, you know, newbie authors make, thinking like, this book is ready. You know what I mean? I got out typos. I can go find an agent. Chick, if you would have saw how, whoo, that book needs so much work, so much. Like it was multi POV, right? So we have like, I think like 5 or 6 POVs, including the church, right? And we
Right?
have like 2 different timelines. I had an additional POV and an additional timeline. Yeah,
Wow.
I had to cut all that out. Solomon, I cut that baby in half. I had to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, and eventually I found my agent, the lovely, fabulous Beth Marche. And as long as it took me to write the book, it took me an exponentially shorter time to do things. Like it took me 5 years to write the book, but only 9 months to find an agent, right?
Oh, wow.
And then it only took me like 3 months to kind of make the edits my agent wanted me to make. And then when we went on sub, it was only 6 weeks and the book got acquired. So
Wow.
everything like went exponentially shorter, as soon as I finished the book, the way that I was supposed to finish the book,
Yeah.
like after I did a lot of like open heart surgery, couple of livers and kidneys had to get replaced, and then I'll put it together and there you go.
I was going to ask about that process with you being an editor. Like, for me, sometimes I like to control things and have a say so. And it's kind of hard to like hand off your baby to somebody else and let them chop it up. So I was going to ask if you had like a second set of eyes that you had that read and looked over, what your work.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the editorial process in traditional publishing is a way different thing than say like if you self-publish. So if you self-publish, a lot of that falls on you. Okay, it still falls on you a great deal when you're in traditional publishing, but like with traditional publishing, with my editor Laura Brown, like she took a deep dive into my book and said, these are the things that are great. Change this stuff. I had like a 30-page edit letter. So I had to do more developmental edits. Get this. It was a 30-page edit letter. I was on the phone with her. I was just like, oh, so when do you want this to get done? I think she's going to be like 3 months. She was like 6 weeks. I said, oh,
No way. My face right now, I'm like, I can't even imagine.
and then I said, oh,
Right. Wait a minute.
I said, hold up. Yeah, I said, hold up, wait a minute. Okay, so then like I'm on the phone with her and I'm trying not to freak out. Like, okay, she said 6 weeks. Okay, this is HarperCollins. Like, I can't mess this up. So I got to do this in 6 weeks. I'm like, yeah, 6 weeks, okay. And then she's like, if you need more time, let me know. I was like, oh no, 6 weeks, I can do 6 weeks.
I'm good.
And then like I hang up the phone, I call my mama, like, I'm gonna need you to get every Black woman in church together, all of the elders, bended knee and body bowed. Like, I don't know how this is getting ready to happen. And so I literally dedicated my whole my entire weekend and at least 2 weekdays to trying to
Knock
get
it
all
out.
of the edits and stuff done. And I was actually able to get it done beforehand.
Wow.
And we thank
Working
Jesus.
miracles. Look at those
The
prayers were
the
answered.
prayers of the righteous availeth much, especially when it is Black women over 60. They have a direct line to Jesus.
Listen, never underestimate the power of the Black woman. I'm telling you.
Hello.
That prayer team. We get that prayer team going. It's over.
Okay. You know what I mean? Gotta be like, oh, is this Rosalind from Biloxi, Mississippi? Hello, Rosalind. Let me go ahead and on that for you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I love the perspective of having multiple point of views, and especially how each one kind of had their own story and then they connected like that, figuring out, oh, that's, Sarah's Lebanon's mom, and just kind of connecting everybody is just like took me aback, especially some of the storylines, like, oh, okay, because you kind of make sense of why people are the way that they are. And it's like this, and I took some notes, but it's like this pain that keeps being recycled through these generations and nobody kind of knows why. Why is Lebanon the way that he is? Because Sarah was this way, but why is Sarah this way? And Lebanon doesn't know why his mother is the way that she is. So it's just like a constant unraveling of emotions and feelings and people's actions that, kind of make you figure things out. And it's almost like, when is somebody finally going to break this cycle? And it almost looks like Layla and Jackson are to that point where they're going to kind of break that cycle and make amends and, you know, start a new path. But yeah, looking at Lebanon's story, it's like, yeah, I hated him the entire story. But at the end, it's like I had this little ounce of like, I feel bad for you. You're this way because of all of this that you've been put through. And as the story unfolded, it's like you don't want to feel bad for him, but it's like you
Right?
kind of do. Yeah.
So that's how it is with all bad boys. And the thing is, Lebanon, it's kind of like the whole idea of nature versus nurture, right? So was Lebanon always destined to be this way, or could he have been a completely different man, completely different person if Sarah would have been able to properly process her trauma? But were there avenues for her to do that, you know, as a Black woman in the 60s? You know what I mean? Like now, and even now as Black women, it's very difficult to talk about issues such as like sexual assault and domestic violence, and you know what I mean? And it's a very much still like what goes on in the house stays in the house. Like you don't, you know, let people know that. And that was like kind of the main problem. You know, it was kind of why this cycle like repeated itself. Like if Lebanon would have knew Sarah's story as a woman, would he have been able to be like, ah, okay, now I know what's going on? You know what I mean? If Sarah was able to kind of get some type of counseling and help that would have been available. See, like that wasn't available to us. And truth be told, that wasn't available to like white women either, or women in general. It wasn't available to us. You know, you just,
Right.
you know, you kept that type of stuff in. So I just really wanted people to kind of see what happens in terms of generational trauma and how it can be repeated in cycles and in families unless something is done, unless that truth is told, unless that story is revealed.
Right. And even the one place where they should have felt safe, like Sarah talking to someone in the church, it's like her dad's the pastor. Like you can't talk to anybody about what he's doing to his own daughter. Like, so it was just this secret between, you know, the three girls of what was really going on.
Exactly. And I mean, you know, Black women, we keep one another's secrets. You know what I'm saying? Like you find your tribe, you stick with your tribe. And that, you know, Naomi and Violet and Sarah were a tribe, like for better or worse, despite, you know, jealousies, rivalries, like there was still that base of love in between the three of them that had them do some really serious things for one another, you know, life changing, life altering things. Because like that in their sense, like this is my sister. Like we don't share blood, you know, it's something deeper than that. And that's the bond that I wanted to replicate with Ruby and Layla.
And I did like how each of the characters were carrying this weight, but at some point, most of them kind of got to release that weight at some point, whether it be Sarah on her deathbed telling her secret and finally like saying, my dad, you know, is the father of Lebanon, and even Layla, like being able to admit, and hopefully everybody's read the book, but you know, that she was the one who killed her mother accidentally, but to be able to,
Ruby.
or Ruby, sorry, yes, I said Layla, Ruby, but to finally be able to just get it off her shoulders and go to jail and just deal with it and then start her life anew. Same thing with Jackson, like he had this secret of thinking that he killed this person and that Lebanon took, you know, the fall for him. And meanwhile, Lebanon's been holding this little secret, like, yeah, you hit him once, but it wasn't enough to kill him. Like, I'm the one who killed him, and held that secret just so he could kind of hold that over, that control over Jackson. So it was kind of nice to see these characters just kind of be able to live and have some relief and kind of let these secrets of their past like out.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean it's kind of one of those things where half the time I didn't like, have you ever been writing something and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's another secret, and that's another secret, and that's another secret too. Like I kind of felt almost like it was secret overload in this book, and I'm, you know, and I kind of backed myself into a corner at a certain point where I'm just like, oh crap, I have all of these secrets now. How am I gonna reveal them? Oh shoot. You know what I mean? So then I kind of had to figure out how to, because I wanted to keep all of the secrets. So then I had to figure out how to unravel each one. And I kind of think that sometimes where, I remember I was reading a trade magazine's review, Love Saving Ruby King, but they were just like, it's a tad melodramatic. And I think somebody else said, like, it was good, little bit too much melodrama. And I was like, with all due respect, I'm pretty sure it's white people reading this.
Yeah.
Because if it was somebody Black, they'd have been like, literally, this is what happens at our family reunion. We all knew Charlie was never Jerome's dad,
Right.
but now Uncle Terrence got drunk and decided to reveal this. You know, like, this is how we deal, you know, with things. So it was never melodrama. It's just like how we deal with secrets and how we reveal secrets. And there is always drama behind secrets, especially in Black families, you know.
Yes. And I feel like with Jackson, I think his was probably the most surprise. Well, no, between him and Ruby, they're a tie for them. That shocked me the most. But I think Jackson's was so surprising because it's like, had he not been in the hospital where he was, and this lady asked for him in the hospital to kind of reveal this secret, he would have never known till this day. So it was like fate literally brought him into that moment so that she could reveal, like, you didn't kill my son, like this such and such, you know, was the reason. And then also for Layla,
She didn't even know. And I'm so sorry to interrupt. And the
No,
thing
you're fine.
is, like, Thorelise, you know, Thorelise really didn't. She was like, Lebanon, and Lebanon did kill her son Cyrus. But the thing is, she didn't even know. She just said, "Oh no, he wasn't hit once. He was hit all of these
multiple times, right?
You know, he said multiple times." And then Jackson is like,
Right.
you know. So it's just, you know, it's like, you know, if he'd have turned down Dr. Savoy and said, "No, I don't have time to meet," he wouldn't have been able to relieve himself of that burden. But something told him to go with Dr. Savoy, you know, and then he met with the release, and then, you know, all of this gets kind of revealed. That's why I have that one reveal, you know, that one scene with him in the bathroom, and he just like threw up. You know what I mean? Because it's just like he had been holding all of that in. And it's like, well, how do I figure out like the whole physical manifestation of keeping something that buried for, you know? So I'm just like, he threw up. You know what I mean? It's like you need kind of a physical manifestation of like getting literally all of that poison out of you.
Right. And I also loved how Layla discovered both his secret, but the fact that it wasn't true as well, because I felt like that would have been another hurdle. Like, we're running out of time to try to save Ruby from her father. And it's like, you wrote that perfectly, because it's like, how are they going to get on the same page to be able to help each other if they're at odds and don't want to speak? Like, if Layla's mad at her dad because she found out this truth that really isn't the truth, it's like, how are we gonna? So it was kind of cool that she went and visited the ex-cop or the retired cop to kind of, yes, to cut.
Remember when I told you that there was an extra timeline and an extra point of view?
Yes.
It was Holden.
Oh, so he would, okay.
And there was like this whole other timeline where you got to see a young Jackson and a young Lebanon. And I always say, not if, but when this gets made into like a limited series, I can always give those portions to the writers and be like, hey, here's like something else. Those have like some of the most like poignant scenes, you know, but you know, you have to kill your darlings, but you can always save them on Microsoft Word. So that's what I did. I didn't kill them. I just
delete anything, right?
You know, I just put them in a deep coma. They're just in a deep coma now. You know.
That's so awesome. And one more main question for me, and then I'll kind of open the floor to everyone else to ask their questions or, you know, spill their thoughts. But back to the audiobook, how much of a hand did you have in choosing the voices for each character?
I chose them all.
Okay. And how many voices, because there was men and women, but how many different people were voicing?
Every point of view had a different voice.
Okay.
The thing is, this was like, I was so happy because I didn't think that I would have any power in choosing those things. And I did. So my editor, Laura Brown, was like, hey, so we're doing the audio book, and, you know, here are some people who are available. And if it's multi-POV, because like if it's just like singular narrative or omniscient narrative, you just have one. But if it's multi-POV, you know, you get, you know, a different one. And I didn't know that. So it was like, I was like a kid in a candy store, but I had like a distinct feeling of who I needed to pick. The one that I needed to pick, I felt the most important was Lebanon. You know what I mean? Like I knew that I needed a voice that was like deep, sinister, but still, sexy in a way. You know what I mean? So kind of like seductive. You know what I mean? And when I heard Adam Lazar White, I was like, I knew instantly, like within like a couple of sentences, like he was, reading for like another book. I was like, that's Lebanon. Like that was Lebanon. And then with Ron Butler, I knew that he was Calvary. Like I knew he was the church's point of view. You know what I mean? Like, Morgan Freeman wasn't available. Ron Butler was like the best alternative for me. Like he was such a great, like he just like the elegance in his voice, the deep bass, and the way that he could still kind of convey the secrets within the church, and he could still take his voice up to like a high enough pitch to talk, for all three of the girls. I was like, chef's kiss.
It was perfection. And I love that you gave the church the voice. Like at first I was like, is this a pastor taught? I was trying to figure out whose voice that was. And I realized that's the church, like is holding all these secrets and seeing all of these things happening and witnessing what's going on in these different stages in different time periods. And I thought that was really cool to hear the Calvary like have its own voice. That was really cool.
Well, I mean, like I needed a way to not like, like how you'll read a book and you'll be into it, but then like they're like these expository paragraphs and you're just like,
right.
You know what I mean? Because it slows down the pacing of the book. So I needed a really good way to explain people's actions and motivations without either too much reveal dialogue or, too many expository paragraphs. Like I didn't, So I used to work with a guy, his name was Luke Salazar, and he read like a really, really early version of Saving Ruby King when it was still called Potter's Wheel. And he was like, it'd be interesting if you like made the church like its own voice, like its own character. And I was like, bro, you're brilliant. And I took that idea and ran with it. And then I literally used the church as a really interesting way to like info dump everything, right? And then I also used it because I really love to write in like this kind of timeless classical way. And it really allowed me to do that because the way that the church speaks is not the way that people like speak now. Like it's just not like, so I was kind of able to scratch that literary itch as well. And so many people have taken to the church being its own character. And so like, I'm just really, really happy that it's been so well received.
That's so awesome. Anyone have any questions? You guys are quiet over there. I know I've been running my mouth, but any thoughts, comments, what you enjoyed?
I'd like to piggyback on the church because I've always said if walls could talk, if I could be a fly on the wall, I always use that narrative. So it was, to me, refreshing to hear the church because I felt like Calvary was non-biased and he wasn't favoring one side or the other. He pretty much just told what his observations were over the years. And so I really liked Calvary and hearing the church and his perspective on what he would hear between his walls. So I thought that was good.
Thank you. Like I said, Calvary was literally one of my most favorite characters to write. Like writing the Calvary scenes, lickety split. Like it wasn't hard. But some of the other characters that I had to deal with were like a little bit more difficult to kind of get into their minds. I mean, like, yes, you created these characters, but like, and not to sound crazy, but they really do become people to you. So it's like trying to crack open how somebody would feel or react or what they do or their motivation. And Calvary was just one of those people like, just kind of this omniscient, but like, as you said, just, he's Switzerland, this is just where these things happen. And I have nothing to do with it because I can't change anything because like, I'm just a place. So yeah, I just had a really, really good time writing Calvary.
Mm-hmm.
I want to piggyback on something you just said. You just said that some characters were difficult to write. Which characters was that?
I was going to say.
Was more difficult to write?
Ruby for me was the most difficult to write, honestly. Ruby has a very melancholic tone to her. It's just kind of, not woe is me, but just it's very melancholic. You know what I mean? It's she's experienced a lot of trauma, so it's kind of like she's at that point like, why does this even matter? You know what I mean? And so it's hard for me to write a character like that because I'm very action oriented. Like, we're not getting ready to wallow. I need you to figure out a plan, and I need you to do this. And Ruby was just very much like, I don't, like, what do I do? And kind of like, you can't change like the scar. We can't change the scars that we have. So I literally have to kind of go into this place where I have to figure out, how do you react if you always feel trapped? If you feel like nothing you do is going to make a difference, or if you try something, it fails in this really tragic and horrible way, how do you cope with it? So like putting myself into that mindset was pretty difficult. I'm happy I did it and was able to expand it. But yeah, Ruby to me was the most difficult to write.
And how did you, sorry, is somebody else about to speak?
Oh, you can go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kenyatta, because I have it written down, so go ahead.
Oh, okay. I guess for me, why didn't, I understand Violet was, there for Lebanon, but like, why didn't anyone did you ever explore the thought of maybe how it would have gone if Violet would have adopted Lebanon and had him and Jackson as brothers? What did you, in any of your earlier writings, did you ever go that route and edit it out, or?
No, that was never an option, because then Lebanon wouldn't have been who he was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah. There wouldn't have been any, because he would have been softer. He wouldn't have been beating Alice. There would have been no story without Lebanon being the way Lebanon was. And the only way to get him to that point was to leave him with Sarah. Okay. You know what I mean? Right. I needed him to be hard in the way that he wouldn't have been if he'd have been raised by Violet. And then also remember, Violet lost her husband, Thomas Potter, at a young age. And she's a Black woman in the 60s and 70s, already raising a son. So you also have to think about the socioeconomic impact that would have had on her. So as much as she may have wanted to take Lebanon in, is she gonna be able to?
Right.
Right. And did it ever come up, and probably not, I'm just curious, because I was like, did Naomi say to Alice, don't marry this Negro? Like, did that ever come up? Like, because was that something that you edited out or not? Because I was like, how did he even get with Naomi's daughter? She knows his story.
Yeah.
Or that was edited.
That wasn't something I edited out. Actually, it's in the beginning. When Lebanon goes to see Sarah, Sarah warns Alice herself. You know what I mean? When it came to Naomi really didn't know, if you think about it, she didn't know what was going on, because she sent Alice back up to Chicago to go to college and told Sarah to keep an eye on Alice. So, Sarah, dealing with everything Sarah deals with, did her best to do that. But you can only tell a young woman so much when she thinks she's in love with a dude. Like, we've all been there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, literally, God himself can be like, hey, Kenyatta, crap ain't getting ready to work out. And you be like, but I love him. Because your nose is like wide open, like two bowling balls can go right through. That's what happened with Alice. Naomi didn't know what was going on. In my head, she didn't know what was going on until it was too late, because she had already sent her daughter up there. And by the time she would have figured it out, Alice is already in love with Lebanon and pregnant with Ruby. Good luck. Good luck when you break that up.
Jamie has a question for us.
I wanted to say, ask about what made you point out the perspective. I thought it was interesting when you explained Sarah's reasoning for why I thought it was her why was interesting on why she decided not to love Lebanon, like that she would protect, that was in her eyes protecting him. I thought that was interesting, that because of her hurt, she concluded it's best for him not to be loved like this, because when you love someone like that, you lose them. So, and that was, yeah.
Exactly. And she had experienced some tragedy in Memphis. So, she's, it's kind of one of those things like, if I open up my heart to my son the way that I opened up my heart to this other man, it's going to end in tragedy. It seems like if I love somebody, I lose them. So best that I don't make him love me, in a way, kind of like protecting him so I don't lose him. I'd rather he hate me. And because then that'll prepare him in a whole different way to deal with the world, in the way that perhaps the person that I loved in Memphis wasn't prepared. And I'm also exploring that. My HarperCollins just bought my second book, Becoming Sarah King. So you get to find out what happened to Sarah during those years in Memphis.
Wow.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that.
The 5-year plan is now. Come on.
Right.
Oh, sorry. What did Kenyatta say? What'd you say, Kenyatta?
You better not have us waiting 5 years.
No. It's coming out. It's coming out in 2022.
Oh yeah.
Oh, great.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
is
Kenyatta was getting ready to jack me for my manuscript. Like, what you not gonna do?
Yeah, because I was going to tell you, I was mad that we didn't hear more about Jonas until I saw on your Instagram page that was coming out. And I was like, oh, so we're going to get all of the backstory. So I'm not mad at you anymore.
Oh, thank you.
But I will tell you, I was mad during most of this book. I was mad at the people. I was mad at Alice for not leaving. I was mad at Alice's friends for not helping her. I was mad at Jackson for not manning up. I was just mad at everybody, which is a sign of good writing because it evoked all those emotions. But I thoroughly enjoyed the book as well.
Okay, so then you're probably really gonna hate me at the end of 2022. So that's cool.
That's okay.
No
That's
problem.
okay. That's okay.
I'm good. But I was telling my mom this. If I take a slight sociopathic glee with people feel some kind of way with my book. I remember when Renee announced that Ruby King, Saving Ruby King was going to be the September book of the month. And after I took myself out of my chair because I fell out because it was such an honor. Thank you.
Aww.
I remember somebody wrote, oh my God, I read that book and I loved it, but like crying face emoji. And I was like, yes, like I want nothing but like crying face emojis when people read this book, when people read Becoming Sarah King and, any of my other books, like, oh my God, this destroyed me. But you gotta read it. You can pick it up at this place because it's just one of those things like, I'm not doing my job if y'all are not using crying face emojis. I didn't do what I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna ask a question collectively to the group. Because there's so much, you do go through hating a lot of the characters. So which character for y'all did you hate the most? And I kind of go back and forth between Lebanon and Jackson until I figured out why Jackson was doing what he was doing, because it just kind of looked like you just continually let this dude like run all over you, abuse his wife, mistreat his daughter. Like he's doing all of this to all of these people, stealing money from the church or, taking money from the church. And so I go back and forth between the two of them. But I think throughout the story, I think Jackson for me was someone that really got under my skin because I didn't understand why he continued to let Lebanon get away with what he was getting away with.
Me too. I felt the same way. Because even though he was like, felt indebted to Lebanon, I'm like, but dude, you're like, you have this following at your church, you're like stealing from church funds. Alice cried out for help by stealing the money and saying, hey, go ahead and lock me up if you have to. And you're still like, oh, no worries.
Right.
I got you. It's going to be okay. I was like, dude, he's going to kill his lady and the daughter. Like, what are you doing?
Shay, completely understand that. Also, that artwork behind you is fire, for real.
Yeah.
That is on
Thank
point.
you.
That is very much on point. Jackson, believe it or not, was heavily based on my father.
Wow.
Really?
A spade to spade. As much as you know, as much as you love people, you see their character flaws. And Jackson's big character flaw was that he was a coward. You know, it was what it was. You know what I mean? Self-preservation for him was number one. And not just the self-preservation of his family, but the self-preservation of his reputation and how people saw him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to him, that was important. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if somebody sees something other than, you know, a pastor and a leader in the community, what am I but that? You know what I mean? And I will do whatever it takes to preserve that. You know, with great power comes a great responsibility, right? And the thing is, Jackson had power, but you know, he just wasn't using it responsibly, and that is the result, you know. But you know, he's a human being, and like we can't, you know, we can kind of morally Monday morning quarterback people, but like we don't necessarily know what we would do in those situations either. You know, we like to think that we would just be like, hell no, I'll go to the police precinct myself and tell them. But would you really?
Right. If
Right.
it means breaking up your family and,
yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've loved my wife for 20 years.
Right.
What's gonna happen to the church that, you know, that my grandfather and my father, you know what I mean? Like what is going to happen? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Like everything would fold without him. So he had to keep up this lie.
Exactly. You
Keep
know,
everything together at the same time.
he has to, by any means necessary. You kind of have to Malcolm X it, unfortunately.
Yep. So Kimberly said Lebanon is number 1. Sarah is number 2. Mocha Girl, I'm assuming this is Mocha Girl reads. I didn't care that Jackson tried to control his very grown daughter who was paying the mortgage. Yeah, that part. Also said it was Lebanon all the way for me. Even when we got more of the backstory, I was still mad at him. Jamie, definitely Lebanon. I was surprised he covered for Ruby. Yeah, that was kind of interesting too. But again, Lebanon likes to control people. So by him helping Ruby, it was another way to kind of dangle that carrot over her and say, you know.
Well, yes, but Lebanon doesn't know what love is, right?
Right.
So for Lebanon, love is kind of this weird way of protecting and doing all of these horrible things, but feeling entitled enough to be like, look at what I did for you. You know what I mean? I did it because I, in my own way, loved you.
Right.
So I'll take this hit for you. You know what I mean? Like he went to jail for 5 years, didn't snitch.
Right.
I'd have been singing like Aretha. He, you know, he was wearing this. We did this. He likes onion rings. This is where you can find him. I'm a snitch. I'm gonna snitch. I'm not spending no 5 years in jail for you, bro. Are you serious? For real, bro? You know,
but I'm curious. I'm sorry. You got to explain that for me, because I thought that it came out that he really didn't serve it for him. He killed the guy.
He did kill the guy, but see, for Lebanon, when Jackson confronts Lebanon, Lebanon is like, yes, I killed you. I mean, I killed Cyrus, but you hit him. You didn't finish the job, bro. I had.
So
this is how I protected you, because if I didn't, he would have went to tell everybody. And then what?
Right.
Then you would have went to jail, lost your football scholarship, and lost all the opportunity you had. You know what I mean? Like you had a mom who loved you. Even though your dad died, you still had your mom. Everybody thought you pissed ginger ale, and you still almost messed it up trying to be a hero. You know what I mean? And he was like, you know, and Jackson's like, well, like he called you out your name and called Sarah a drunk. He's like, so the hell what? Everybody called Sarah a drunk. Everybody called me out my name, but you got to come in doing this thing that I didn't ask you to do, and you screw it up. And then what do I have to do? But like X this dude out so you don't get caught. You know what I mean? Like that's Lebanon's idea of love. Right. I didn't say it's perfect. It's not right. It's ruthless and mean and cruel. But that's the only way he knows how to navigate this world, is through violence.
Right. Somebody was about to say something. No.
And I hear that, but I guess, and I understand that, like, okay, you wouldn't have survived on the streets if you punked Cyrus, and Cyrus would have came back, so we had to kill Cyrus. I get that, but then at the same token, it was like he was so envious of Jackson that instead of saying, I'm doing this to protect you, to genuinely protect you because I want the best for you, I'm still going to torment you and make your life a living hell, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, once again, the only way Lebanon knows how to navigate things is through violence. It don't just got to be physical violence. You know what I mean? Mental violence.
Right.
And the thing is, if you look at Naomi, Sarah, and Violet, there's jealousies on that end too. Like Violet is jealous of Sarah because King Saul is pastor instead of her dad being pastor, because she's like, he would be the rightful pastor, calling him King Saul instead of Saul King. You know what I mean? When Layla and Ruby are in the coffee shop and Ruby says something about Jackson, Layla doesn't like, she's like, okay, so what you're not gonna do is talk about my dad. You know what I mean? Like, basically like, that's my job, but you ain't getting ready to talk about, you know what I mean? Like, people have these kind of weird dichotomies when it comes to relationships with a family. Like, I don't care, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, my dad and I butt heads, but like, I ain't gonna let you talk about him. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm jealous of Jackson and the stuff that he has, but like, if this dude comes back, it's gonna ruin his life. And then Auntie Violet is gonna be up, Auntie Violet's life is by extension gonna be ruined. So like, I gotta take care of that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to like Lebanon, but you gotta recognize bro took hits for everybody. So it's kind of one of them things where you gotta be like, you don't like him, but you gotta kind of respect the fact that like, he would do things nobody else was willing to do. You know what I mean? He was gonna make the hard choices a lot of people wasn't willing to make, for better or for worse, and a lot of times for worse, and you kind of gotta respect that,
Mm-hmm. Right.
So in the comments, we had 4 more votes for Saul as far as who they hated.
Ooh, I wrote her.
Yeah. So I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Tandua. She said, I also had a hard time with Alice, to be honest. As a mom who would do just about anything for my kids, the fact that she didn't do more to protect Ruby really bothered me.
So Tandua, I understand that, but there are a lot of women in Alice's position, So yeah, you would go to bat for your kids. I might see you in the news like, oh, is that Tandua? I knew it was gonna happen, right? But there are some women who like literally feel trapped, and they're like, well, the only way that I don't feel like I have an out. You know what I mean? So where am I gonna go? What am I gonna do? He's gonna find me. I've left before. He's found me. You know what I mean? And he promised it wasn't going to happen again. And it's really good, for a while. And then he kind of loses it. But, but like, it's not all the time. Like, it's the craziest things we can justify in our head, right? And though, as moms, Black women especially, are like fierce protectors of our children. But, there are things that we may want to try to justify for ourselves, thinking like, well, I take the brunt of the hits, so it really isn't going to affect Ruby so much. He did break her arm, but like, he really won't do anything like that again, like, because I'll take the rest of those hits. You know what I mean? So it's just amazing what you're going to justify and what you allow yourself to put up with. For the sake of your child. In her way, she thought she was protecting Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, it's kind of this moral Monday morning quarterbacking. Like, yes, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure, you would protect your kid, and if somebody laid a hand on them, God help us all. But, not everybody is raised like that. Not everybody has that capacity or that will or that strength, so.
Yep. Lawanda wants to know, why did Naomi keep Sarah a secret?
Why did Naomi keep Sarah's?
And maybe Lawanda, you want to add on to that since you're on there?
Well, when Ruby asked her who was the girl in the picture, she wouldn't tell her. And Violet didn't tell her either. Why did they need to keep Sarah a secret knowing that that was her grandmother?
Because I think the story in and of itself would require further explanation that they really didn't want to go into. Because you're going to have to talk about what happened in Calvary that night, what happened to King Saul. You know what I mean? Like, kids are going to keep asking questions. You know what I mean? And in a way, people kind of wanted to forget Sarah, you know what I mean? Like, and not really even forget. It's just that because Naomi in and of herself was responsible for a death, responsible for a murder, it just took her to a place where she just didn't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like that night in and of itself was traumatic because it's, you know, when King Saul was choking Sarah, when he was killing her, you know, I remember a lot of people, when I was writing or composing the scene, I was like, man, a lot of people are getting ready to be like, this is it, she's gonna die. I was like, so what can I do that people won't see coming? I was like, Naomi will kill him, because Naomi at this point has kind of been a mouse. But what does that do? Taking a life, what toll does that have on you? You know what I mean? So there are parts of your story you want to remember, so that's why you keep the picture. But if somebody asks you specifically, well, who are these people and why this picture? You know what I mean? It might have, you know, it had Naomi go to a place where she just kind of froze and went really back in time. And that was Ruby's kind of clue, you know, social cue to be like, I'm never asking her about this again, because she's normally happy and fun and bright. And when I asked her about this person, she just shut down on me. So I'm never doing that again. You know, and I, you know, told, you know, and then I also prefaced it by Ruby being like, you know, and one day Layla's kids are going to see a picture of us and they're going to ask, and Layla's going to have the same reaction, and I'm just going to be this set of discarded memories. You know,
and
so
I like the fact that you didn't make that true.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm like, I've hit people with a lot of stuff. Let me try to end on a hopeful note, because if not, I might get a little bit of hate mail. So let me try to end on a hopeful note.
That's so awesome.
Well, I just want to say one of my most favorite scenes in the book, and it shouldn't be funny to me, but it was funny. But it was after Naomi had killed King Saul, and so Violet and Sarah were fighting practically, and they're cursing, and I'm like, y'all were in church and y'all just killed somebody. She's like, you're going back for this damn dog, and you know, it was hilarious to me. That is where I saw the TV series. I was like, that would look good on TV, but it just makes you think of, you know, you have your girl tribe, and sometimes you guys are gelling just fine, and there are other times when you're bickering amongst yourselves, but you know, nobody else better mess with you, but you might be fighting amongst yourselves. So that scene just took me out. I was walking while I was listening to it and just laughing. I was like, I hope nobody is watching me, because I was just giggling, and they'll probably think I was crazy. But yeah, that scene.
They would think you were crazy, but I wrote the scene. So what does that make me? Now let's be real, Keela. Let's be real. Now you was laughing at it, but I wrote the scene, so y'all know to pray for me on a whole different.
Yeah. But you share your crazy, so it's all good.
I definitely share. Ask my mom, my brother, my father, my friends. I share it. I'm in Aries. What do you expect?
I'm raising 2 of them, twins. Yeah.
Oh, God bless you and keep you.
I was even laughing at the part when they were talking about taking his rings to the pawn shop, and they're like, "Oh, even with a little blood on it, like
it'll still sell. They'll still sell them. They'll take those rings."
Like, they're not gonna question like where this blood is coming from. Like, you're giving me bloody rings, like you just killed somebody and just ripped the rings off, and here you go. Like,
pretty much.
That was crazy to me.
I mean, but it was kind of one of those ruthless things, because Saul was such a ruthless man. It's like, there's no time for sentiment. You're horrible. We don't care. And this is what we did. Now what? You know what I mean? So, you know, and then meanwhile, Naomi is sitting there just losing it, you know, and just rocking back and forth, like, oh my God, I just killed the past. Right. Oh Lord, no. You know, and then Sarah and Violet are having a row. And the past, was like dead on the floor, and they going at it, and you know, I mean, like, it was just like one of those really chaotic moments. But it was one of those moments where you say everything you need to say, good, bad, and ugly. And there was just a lot of ugly in that scene, because it's like you got to get everything out there. You know what I mean? Like, why'd you get the damn dog? Well, because it was a laughing at my mom. Well, he had your mom's ring. That was it. He gave that to her. I don't give a damn about the ring. Like, that was my dog. Like, you just like, hey, look. You know what I mean? Like, y'all was supposed to meet me on 42nd and State. I'm waiting for y'all. Did nobody come? You know, like everybody had that moment. It's just like, we said we was gonna go on this field trip, this road trip, and I'm waiting for y'all, and y'all didn't show up, and I gotta come back. And yeah, so.
Come back to this. Yeah.
Okay, and then I come back and there's a dead body on the floor. All you have to do is follow the plan. You know.
But I also appreciated each of the characters because it's happened multiple times within the story, but how they go to lengths to protect one another, you know, whether it's killing your father that rapes you or shooting what you think is going to be your father to protect your mother from being beaten anymore, or holding the secret or having the secret being held over your head to protect your family in the church from what Lebanon may do. It's like constant people trying to protect their loved ones too.
This is what happens when you decide to write a book for the first time. You write yourself into a bunch of damn corners, and then you got to figure out how you're going to unwrite yourself from them corners. And then it's just like, what did, like, I remember I was reading, I remember I was reading the story, and I was like, somebody bought this, and what did I do? Like, it was just like the first story I ever wrote. And I think like I watched one too many like Guy Ritchie, like, you know, or like Christopher Nolan movies where I'm just like, I'm just gonna cut all these things together, figure out what happened.
Yeah.
You know, I forgive me, but I'm happy you loved it, you know.
Yeah,
We did.
For me, because I did child welfare for so many years, it just, as a person that's worked in the human service field and did with child welfare, it like reminded me like how much I hated having cases that was strictly domestic violence. Like I'd rather deal with a strung out crackhead with than DV. And so for me, it just kind of reignited like all of those emotions and those frustrations of dealing with someone that is going through, you know, domestic violence. And like the average person, and you forget about a lot of the things. And then, because I haven't worked in social work in about 3 years, and you stated how Sarah was saying, well, it's okay, I'll stay here. I'll take the beatings as long as she's safe. I'll take, you know, the beatings from Lebanon because she's safe. Whereas someone looking at it would be like, you need to leave.
Run, go.
And like the average person, and it's funny because when you stated that, I had forgotten. I was like, oh my God, I forgot that fast. And the one thing that the average person doesn't know about domestic violence is the lethality is highest when that person is leaving. Mm-hmm. You know, when that abuser feels like he can actually might lose that person, that's when the lethality is higher versus when the person is staying and tiptoeing, and they are in a sense protecting the child because they are the ones that are getting the physical abuse versus if they leave, they could potentially be dead. So how Kedia was talking about all the emotions, I was just kind of like, I think I could deal with Sarah better than I could deal with this. I mean, I could deal with Sarah better than I could deal with Alice in this DV. Like, I just want to.
Because I think it's like, you know, so Black women, we're strong. We're strong to a point where we're all superheroes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking to the Avengers right now, right? So when you see someone who's another Black woman who isn't exhibiting that same type of strength, it's like nails down a chalkboard for us because we're like, save yourself. You know, you don't have to take this. You know, stab them. You don't have a sharp knife? Here's one. Kill him. I don't know what you're waiting for. You know what I mean? It's kind of exactly like Jamie said. You know what I mean? I think, and that's why that was the refrain, like, save yourself, because she wanted Ruby to not wind up like her. I believe like when Alice died, she wasn't blaming Ruby. She was like, I just need you to find yourself in a better position than what I found myself in. You know what I mean? Because what I did was too little, too late. Mm-hmm. You know, and I just think sometimes when Black women find, you know, ourselves in a position like a domestic violence position or what have you, it's one of those things where there's like just a lot of shit. I don't want to, you know, tell people, And then, you know, you get that judgment, like, well, why don't you just do this? You know what I mean? But like the person isn't in the position. So I just think there just needs to be like way more open communication, and way better resources. You know what I mean? Like, you know, a way for a woman to just go to a shelter. You know what I mean? That's anonymous. That you ain't got to worry about somebody tracking you down, etc. But you know, I digress. It's just one of those things where I know that we have problems with Alice. I mean, I have problems with Alice, but we all have to kind of once again recognize the fact that, you know, a lot of us morally Monday morning quarterback. And, you know, until, you know, you're in that position, and I pray none of you ladies have ever found yourself in that position at all, you know, you really don't know how you're going to react to a situation. You know, we want to believe that we're strong enough to do whatever it is we need to do, but like, you know, you don't know. Nobody has a crystal ball. No?
Jess just popped up on here too. Hey, Jess.
So late, y'all. Hey.
No
Hey,
problem.
everybody. Hi, Catherine.
Oh, Jess, how are you?
Everybody else? I'm good. How's everybody? Sorry, y'all. I had a meeting, but I said I'm coming. I hope y'all were still talking.
Jess is one of our regulars, so she was sad to not be able to make the whole thing. But yeah, and then Tandua also made the comment that she said, I think the story through highlights the patterns and generations of abuse, victims turning into villains. It's sad. So yeah, just constant.
Ooh, I said, ooh, now
Look,
listen,
yeah.
that's the knowledge, victims turning into villains. I said, you need to go ahead and get that copyrighted.
Listen, there you go. Look.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunately sometimes what happens. You know, there are two roads you can take. You can, you know, turn out and kind of become like Lebanon, kind of give into that, or you try to make it so that you're never in that position again, and that your children are never in that position again. So it's all in you have the ability to break that chain, to break, you know, those ties.
Yep.
Yeah, to break that cycle. And it's up to you, like, what road are you going to take?
Yeah.
You know, you see what happens with Lebanon when you don't take that road, and you see what happens with Ruby when you eventually do take that road after a really horrible, misguided attempt. When you finally tell the truth, when you finally tell your story, you know, what do you get at the end of that? You get your freedom, both literal, figurative, spiritual, mental. You get your freedom.
And it's also crazy to think about is there's so many things that people could have done along the way that could have changed the outcome of Ruby's story too. Like, had, you know, Pastor Jackson had listened to her mom and helped her out, and, you know, just so many different scenarios where it didn't have to come to that. If somebody else would have just changed a little something or done a little something, it's like it could have been a different outcome for Ruby.
I know, but isn't that good though? Like, you know, you watch movies like, if you just did this, if you just came sooner, if you just, like, I remember reading Romeo and Juliet, and the scene where Romeo takes the poison and Juliet kills herself. It was always, especially 14-year-old Kathy, it was like, oh no. Oh. But it didn't hit me as hard as it did till I saw the Baz Luhrmann movie. And the way that he did it, like Romeo had just taken the poison and then she wakes up, and then I'm like, if you'd have just woken up sooner, or if Romeo would have just looked and saw that her finger was twitching, or if he, you know, to me, that's like a really good indication of you're like involved in this story. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, what I want. And I'm happy. I mean, I wrote the story the way that I wrote it, you know, because, you know, we don't get our happy endings. We got to fight for them. We're not given them. We got to fight for them.
Right. Well, it's been an hour, so I want to say thank you so much for coming on to speak with us. We absolutely loved this novel, loved spending this time with you to be able to dive in and ask you questions and kind of pick your brain on this. I'm super excited for 2022 to get here, because I think Sarah, to me, was one of the most fascinating characters. We got snippets of her, but she's someone that I really wanted to dive into her story more, of like her relationship with her dad, and just more with Memphis and figuring that out. So I'm super excited to see how that unfolds.
Did I miss an announcement?
Yes, so there's another book based on Sarah that's coming. Yeah. So yes, we are anticipating that release. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you everyone for coming on tonight and joining us.
Thank you. Everybody's saying thank you when you love the book. I appreciate it. I can't see all of the names, but I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm just blown away and in awe by how I've just been accepted, how this book has been received. So thank you all very much. And I hope to, give you guys more crying face emojis in 2022.
More emotions. Yes, we hope to see you.
All the emotions.
That's it.
Love the emotions.
Well, thank you so much. I enjoyed it. I really did.
Thank you so much, Kenyatta. I appreciate that. And like I said, I hope that I live up to you guys' expectations year after next. And yeah, I just can't wait. You guys are motivating me. Let me go ahead and write the book right now. Let me finish and write the book now.
Go ahead.
30 days, look.
To say if you won't be upset at all.
I'm sorry, say that again, Christine.
If you finish it earlier, we won't be upset at all.
Oh, yeah. So, you're right. You know what? You know what? 2021. Oh no, I'm not gonna say that. I have another book. 2021. I can't do that one. I can't do that one.
Oh, you have do it 2 days like you did with this one. Just did it in 2 days.
I finished the last 25%.
2 days.
2 days, 2-3 days.
I do have a question for you, because I was gonna say the one thing I think some of us all have been lamenting about recently is the sticker that they put on your book. Sometimes if it gets picked by a big book club, and because we don't want the sticker. I mean, we're gonna read it regardless of whether it gets picked for the big book club or not. So how do you feel about those stickers on your book?
I don't really care.
Look, she's like, as long as it's getting sold, I don't care.
As long as it's getting sold, huh?
And truth be told, a lot of the book clubs have kind of content warnings. So like if it deals, and you would think that if it's like a women-driven, kind of thing, that, there would be certain things like you would want to, highlight these issues like sexual assault and domestic violence. But a lot of these book clubs are just like, no, we don't really want to deal with that. So, it is what it is, it's curated, right? Mm-hmm. So you move on and you don't take it personally, because screw them. I wrote a great book. It's already being well received. Regardless, I'm a best-selling author.
Amen.
So,
amen to that.
I mean,
right.
I don't need a sticker to validate the good work.
We don't want the sticker.
Yeah, look, I was fortunate to get mine before it got that sticker on there. But
I don't think mine has the sticker either.
Mine doesn't. But a lot of them do. Yeah. Oh, I just took off the sleeve for the first time. I've not looked at the actual. It's
so pretty. Yeah, I love it.
My hairdresser's son said, "What kind of book is this? It doesn't have anything on the front." He's 6.
That's beautiful.
And there's and just so you know, ladies, if you haven't read it, you're gonna read it again. There is a family tree in the beginning of it. I know we just normally just start reading, but there's a family tree in the beginning. So if you ever get lost, just refer in the front. My brother actually designed it. JP, Layla's big little artistic brother, was based on my brother, who designed the family tree at the beginning of the book.
I just have Kindle on audiobook. Now I'm gonna have to go get the book.
Yeah, can y'all see my screen?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking, Kenyatta. Now I need to.
Version.
Yeah. I'll post it in the group. I'll take a screenshot of it and post it in the group so you guys.
Yeah, because I know that I didn't make it easy for y'all, and I'm sorry. I didn't think that it was gonna be that expansive. Please forgive me. It was the first book I ever wrote. I didn't mean for it to be that complicated. I don't know why I did what I did.
Figure it out. So I'm one of those. I don't read the back or the front. I like it to so that was interesting. That was good for me to be like, okay, try to connect the dots and everything. So.
Right. Cool. You know, okay, Jamie, because
If you have a version, it's the page right before the content. So it's in there.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
Family tree
Thank you,
was different
Christine.
for me. I didn't have an issue. I read a book last year that the family tree was no help whatsoever.
Oh,
was that the Traveler's one?
Yep.
I knew that's what Anna was gonna say.
In my face, I'm like, yeah, that was a book club pick, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did a book club, Renee. I can't remember the name, and there was a lot of names in there. I think when we did the talk, it was very
it was a couple books back. What was it?
The Travelers.
It was the Travelers.
It wasn't the Traveler.
Christine, what was you sent it to me, Christine? The map of the.
That one I made. That was in American Marriage. I made that.
No, it was something.
No.
It was
Girl, woman, was it Girl, Woman, Other?
Girl, Woman, Other, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, was it? It was Girl,
Woman, Other. Because I was like, Christine, I thought you emailed that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Girl, Woman, Other. That one was.
Yeah, you needed.
There's also one for Homecoming. You all remember Homecoming? That
was
was
yeah. There's one at the beginning of Homecoming. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
That one was very helpful.
Yeah, it was, because you was literally going back from slavery to the prison.
Yes,
It was like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I couldn't get into that one.
Oh, that's what
I couldn't follow that one. Homecoming.
Oh, I loved Homecoming.
Yeah, I couldn't get
very
into
well
it.
done. Like you could tell, like there was like a lot of research that went into it too.
Yeah.
I like that one much better than the newest one, but I'll be quiet.
Oh,
really?
Somebody was like Transcendent Kingdom. Who?
Uh-oh. I hadn't read it yet.
I haven't read Transcendent Kingdom yet, though. No, I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet.
Catherine, you mentioned that one of the characters was based on your brother. What other characters was based on somebody you knew already?
Oh, yeah. So the whole Potter family is my family, right? So Jackson is my dad, JP is my brother, Joanna is my mom, with the caveat that my mom is a hell of a lot more feisty than that. So when Jackson and Layla were going at it, and Jackson called Layla a whore, my mom would have beat the mess out of my dad at that point. He would have just been like, nope, you know. So, but Joanna is based on my mom in some respects, and Layla, heavily based on me. And even kind of the way that I did their names. So all of my mom, my dad, my brother have just sounding names. So like, you know, and then Catherine. Yep, I'm cool. I'm only the also left-handed one in my family. So maybe just somebody dropped me off on a stoop. I don't know. I don't know. But I did the same thing with the family. You know, you had Jackson, Joanna, JP, who's a junior, like my brother is a junior, and then you had Layla, you know. So yeah, I did that. Lebanon wasn't based on anybody in particular. I just love writing a good villain, and to me, like, villain is like that just really depends on how you're gonna view the person. Ruby wasn't really based on anybody. Holden was based on kind of an amalgam of older men at my church that I had a great fondness for. Yeah, so yeah, and Calvary, like I said, Calvary, like the literary influences in terms of Calvary came from Oscar Wilde, Charles Dickens, Octavia Butler, James Baldwin, you know, Zora Neale Hurston, just like a lot of, you know, white and, you know, African-American literary influence. So, you know, just that.
I love it. Good. Well, thank you so much. I know we've gone over time, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. This was amazing, Catherine. We cannot thank you enough for joining our book club and discussing this. We love the novel, and 2 years seems like a long time from now, especially with this pandemic, but we will hold on. We anxiously await your next, you know, hit novel. We're excited for you. So congratulations on that, because that's huge. And congratulations on this one, because it was an amazing story. And as soon as I heard about it, I knew it had to be a book club pick. So we're thankful for you.
Oh, well, I'm thankful for you ladies. I mean, you know, the fact that a lot of Black women have co-signed on this book, I'm like, thank you. Because if y'all didn't, I don't know. If y'all would have been went around being like, you know, that book was trash, like I'd have just went up and probably wouldn't have written anything again. So, you know, just once again, Renee, thank you. You know, Book Girl Magic, like just, you know, for making me like the book club, except the book club month of September. I said, oh,
Yes, no problem.
I said, what I think about you. Hello. So, you know, just thank you all for having me. And yes, this is how I am in real life. This isn't.
We love it.
But thank you all, ladies, so much. And I really hope the next book lives up to your expectations. And I will be back if you will have me back.
Yes, definitely.
Come back and just read with us. Just come read with us.
Yeah, just join the club.
Just come on.
Because I'm gonna have some.
Look, this is the next
Grown.
That's the next one.
That's next month. Come back. Come back.
Grown is on point.
Wait, I have not. I usually don't read the book until.
Okay. I won't say nothing.
Yeah,
we haven't started yet. So.
If I read them now, I will forget by the time the book club chat. So I usually try to read them like a week out before our book club.
So it can be fresh.
Right.
So,
come back first Wednesday of the month, right, Renee?
Yes, hopefully. We'll see. We got softball, but yes, it should be the first Wednesday of November, which can't
softball in your Aries first.
It'll make because the 3rd is my birthday that you come back.
All right.
We'll see, ladies. I have to be at work by 5 a.m. So this is why I'm sitting up here like looking at the time right now, like I'm gonna have
go
about
to bed.
6 hours of Jesus. Like
yes. Thank you so much. We'll let you go on that note, but thank you so much. We will definitely keep in touch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you, ladies, so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Night.